Gentlemen, welcome back. You're back with MGTOW Money. I'm living the dream. I'm living my dreams, and I hope you are as well. Today is going to be a little bit autobiographical due to some comments that some of you want to know, who is this guy, John Galt, and what are his credentials? How dare he try to tell me what to do with my money and my investments? I'm going to get to that in just a second, but in case you're new here, this is MGTOW 2.0. This, of course, is the second wave of MGTOW. This is about actionable, practical ideas on how you can make money, invest it more wisely, spend more optimally, and maybe achieve financial independence at a relatively young age, as I did. Let's roll on to today's topic. I hope I don't bore you. I have been putting this off because I wasn't sure what to say, but let me just address who I am. First, my credentials. Let me be clear. I've never run a hedge fund. I'm not a billionaire. And nor do I have I'm not a Nobel Prize winner in economics. So you can go ahead and strike me off all those lists. And if you'll listen to some of the former videos, the past videos I've done, you would know exactly what I'm talking about here. So I don't fall in any of those categories. I will say, however, although I've been involved in numerous different careers, I do have a background in finance. I did spend some time in the finance industry. I did have a Series 3, Series 7, and Series 63 brokerage licenses for all of those. For some of those who are listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So needless to say, I do have a background in the industry. But that's all irrelevant, to be honest with you. I want to talk about how I achieved some degree of wealth at a relatively young age. I was in my 40s, my mid to late 40s, and how it allowed me to achieve financial independence. And I'll get into some specifics about it right now. I was in my late 20s following a divorce. Yes, I was married and divorced. I was only married a couple of years, and I felt like I had to get focused on something because even after my divorce, I didn't even have a college diploma. I had not graduated college in spite of the fact of going off and on for multiple years. I hadn't even finished. So I got my college degree finished, and I decided that I got to get a professional job, frankly, while I was still in school, finishing up school. Here I am in my late 20s. One thing, though, that I knew into my late 20s, and probably actually subconsciously I knew it much, much earlier in life, is that I didn't want to work for anyone else. I wanted to work for myself. And frankly, I didn't want to work for anyone at all. I didn't even want customers, if you will. I didn't want clients. I just wanted to do my own thing when I wanted to do it. So it's late 90s, and what am I doing? I'm looking at this internet thing, and I was working in the technology industry at the time, or I started there, and I happened to come across, as some of you may remember, Yahoo. Yahoo was obviously still around today, but it was sort of the number one destination on the internet pre-2000. And they had a message board that was extremely popular. And I stumbled across this section where it was talking about, quote, early retirement. I thought, early retirement? What is that? Here I am, 27, 28 years old. Retirement was about as far removed from me as you can possibly imagine. But I'm reading this, and there was this one particular poster. I won't go into details, and I don't know the person. I've never met him, but I've had brief contact. Anyway, he was talking about how he retired at 38 years old. That's ridiculous. That's impossible. I mean, no one could possibly do that unless they've inherited some tremendous amount of money or had a lawsuit that they've won or something like that. I mean, surely he had some sort of windfall. Maybe he won the lottery. The answer is, as I discovered and other people did, is that no. The guy was a white-collar professional up to that time and had made some very good investments. Specifically, as he referenced, he had invested in Dell stock. As you may remember, Dell Computer, still around, still very, very well known. But that particular stock had a tremendous, if you'll look back, had a tremendous run from the early 90s to the late 90s. And he had concentrated a lot of his money. I think this was risky, but it paid off quite nicely. He concentrated a lot of money in it, and it paid off very, very well, and he quit working at 38 and did a little consulting for a few years, and that was that. He was done, totally done, and I think he was around 40, 41, something like that. So what lesson did I take from that? I took from that it is possible. People can actually retire at a relatively young age. And to me, at least, in particular at the time, that was totally shocking. I never knew anyone that did that. And when I would mention it to other people, older people who were in their 40s, 50s, even their 60s, they would say that's virtually impossible. That is 1 in 100 million. And the chances of you doing that, well, let me just laugh, because it's so highly unlikely that you're going to be able to do that. Just go back to work and forget about it. So, needless to say, that did spark my mind, because frankly, I had a role model. And one thing I've discovered in my success is that I do much better when I have a role model. When I have someone who has already paved that path, for whatever reason, for me, it makes things much, much easier. Just like when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile barrier, it, of course, set forward many, many other people who did something very, very similar very shortly thereafter. But nobody could possibly break that 4-minute mile barrier until Bannister did it. Thus, I think what we should take from this is the importance of role models. Maybe not for every single person, but for many of us, we need someone to blaze that trail before us. Number 2, beyond being a role model, I took something very practical, something very objective that he referenced many, many times. Specifically, he was talking about, that was a radical concept to myself as well as many people at that particular time, was this idea of the 4% withdrawal rate. The idea that if you have X amount of capital and you have your money in relatively diversified assets, that 4% withdrawal rate from that pool of money can last you your entire lifetime. So let me just give you easy numbers. Let's just say I have $500,000 and a relatively diversified portfolio. Using that 4% withdrawal rate, I can withdraw $20,000 per year, adjusted for inflation, for the rest of my life and not run out of money. And I know it's like, what? Is that possible? Yes, it really is possible. Dozens, if not hundreds, of academic studies have shown this to be true. There are now many, many calculators that'll provide you this additional information. Yes, there's some hesitation. Is it 3.8? Is it 3.75? Maybe you could actually do 4.1. But a good round number to work from, and I talk about this in a video that I'll include in the description, Achieving Your Magic Number, and again, look in the description for the video, is the importance of that 4% withdrawal rate. The reason why that was so important to me is that by getting me into the mind frame of having a target, of having a specific dollar amount that I wanted to achieve to support my individual unique lifestyle, was groundbreaking to me. So in other words, let me get this straight as I'm thinking here, 28, 29 years old at this point. Let's see, if I get X amount of dollars, 100,000, 200, $1 million, whatever, and I withdraw 4% on that, I don't ever have to work again. So I just have to get up to that barrier. I just have to climb that mountain, get that amount of money, and I'm done. I'm out. I don't ever have to go to work again if I choose not to. And so here's the next thing that I did. With my career, I stayed on track. I worked, obviously, in a professional environment for approximately 20 years. And during that time, I worked for basically 2 companies through hell and high water. And there was plenty of time of hell and plenty of time of high water. But correspondingly, there were also some good times. I, though, stayed on track. I was not going to deviate from where I was. I stayed very focused and very consistent with my position, as well as changed positions within the company, as well as moving offices, etc. But the point being, I stayed focused. I didn't job hop. I consistently look for ways to enhance my income in my present position, as well as, again, within my existing organization. And that is one advantage. I've done videos about this before, about working for a relatively large organization, is that you can change positions, that you can increase your income, and this can be a tremendous advantage. Again, you're staying on track, you're staying focused. Next, automatic savings. I've said this repeatedly. I had tremendous success using automatic savings, having money automatically deducted from my paycheck, forcing me, and this is very key here, forcing me to live way below my means. I can assure you, I lived relative to my income way below my means. People would I don't know if they were laughing behind my back, but I think people were definitely snickering when they'd see this guy driving this old car, etc., living in this small apartment, thinking, what is this guy doing? You know, I mean, he's making this money, and I was making above average money, let's just say that, living in this small apartment. What is going on here? There's something wrong here. Well, you know what? Those same people are working to this day, and I haven't been working for a couple of years now. So the bottom line is, through my automatic savings, correspondingly living way below my means, that was a significant factor relative to my early retirement. I'll say lastly, one huge advantage that I've had, one thing that I cannot emphasize enough, is that I've made some very good investments. Not fantastic investments, but very, very good investments. Stocks, bonds, real estate. I've done them all. I've done some things in precious metals. I have done well. Was that by luck? Was that by accident? Or was that because I'm skilled? I'd say it's a combination of all. Needless to say, it can be done. Let me summarize with the following. I had no windfalls. In other words, I had no inheritance. I had no lottery winnings. I didn't win a lawsuit or anything like that. There was no magic here. There's no tremendous formula, complicated equals MC squared type thing that I can describe to you. Instead, I got very, very focused at a relatively young age. In other words, I determined I needed X amount of dollars. I got on a track and I saved, and correspondingly with that savings made some very reasonably good investments. Let's just say that. Do not, gentlemen, overcomplicate things by thinking that there's some sort of Aladdin's lamp that you've got to have to retire early. It is not the case. So let me give it to you in 10 words or less, gentlemen. I'm an average man. I had an average white-collar job, if you will, and I got focused, and I retired early. That's it, in 10 words or less. Now, before I leave this subject, let me give you two of the biggest mistakes that I made, two things that I did wrong that I hope, especially young men, won't do. Number one, I spent, gentlemen, a ton of money, in the thousands of USD on women, gifts, travel, etc. I won't go into all the details, but yes, I did. And this has nothing to do with a divorce settlement or anything like that. But I can tell you, frankly, yes, of course, I do regret the money that I blew on women. So I won't go any further than that. Number two, just as importantly, I got emotional about my investments. I got cracked on my investments in things like the stock market, on some of my investments in there. What I mean is that when I saw many of my stocks falling, this is in particular in the early 2000s, I got emotional about them. I sold them. I should never have sold them. That was my error. Yes, I should have been a buy and hold long-term investor, in particular, because at that time I had a long investment time horizon in front of me, but instead I let my fear get a hold of me. So again, Two big mistakes that you need to take away from this, gentleman, especially for you younger men. Be very, very careful about your involvement, in particular emotional involvement with women, because it will probably cost you money. And number two, be very, very careful about money that you invest in the stock market or any other type of investment, about becoming emotional, because it's very different to talk about these things to when you've got your money in some sort of investment, it's down 50%, everyone's saying the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and you're watching your money melt away. I can assure you, it's very tempting, and I know I'm not the only one, it's very tempting to just say, sell it all, get me out of here. And many times, that can be the worst possible thing that you can do. Gentlemen, as always, I hope you found that helpful. I want you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, or at least you found it useful. We, of course, are building an international MGTOW army here. I need your help. I need you to share this video on forums. I need you to share it with friends. As always, John Galt out.